Glass clinks on a concrete step before a single soul in the house has cracked an eye open. Welcome to Faded Photographs. This week we're chasing one summer day, somewhere in America, call it 1955, morning to dark. One plain, unremarkable day that millions of people lived and almost nobody thought to write down. Come walk it with me. Early yet. The light's still gray and soft, the kind that hasn't made up its mind to be warm. Lawns silver with dew, the birds are up, the people aren't. And already there's a sound at the door. The milkman. He moves soft, a man with a route and a schedule, his truck idling at the curb. He's done this house 1,000 mornings. He knows which step groans, which dog kicks off. He sets the full bottles down and gathers the empties you left out last night, rinsed and lined up neat by the door. Cream's risen to the top of each one, a pale collar under the cap. Whole milk. Buttermilk. Maybe. Now and then, a little carton of cottage cheese, or a half pint of cream for Sunday. A note tucked under one bottle if the lady of the house wanted something extra this week. Pencil on a torn scrap. 2 extra quarts. Company coming. The bottles touch. That clink is the first sound of the day for half the houses on this street. You never think about it. You've heard it your whole life. It just means morning's gotten started without you. That the world out there is already turning while you're still tangled in the sheet. The newspaper comes next. A rolled bundle flung off a bicycle by a kid who's been up an hour, who's already pumped halfway across town with a canvas bag dragging at his shoulder. It hits the porch boards with a soft slap. Inside, last night's box scores, the funnies, the price of a pound of coffee, the want ads, and the weather everybody will be chewing on by noon, because it's going to be hot. Real hot. The kind you feel in the ink on your fingers. Now the house stirs. Downstairs. Coffee. Percolating on the stove. That low, knocking rhythm. The little glass knob on top going dark. Light. Dark. The smell of it climbs the stairs before anyone hollers you down. Bacon spitting fat in a cast iron pan. Eggs cracked one-handed on the rim. The radio's on low. A voice reading the news, a farm report nobody in town needs, then a scrap of music in between. Nobody's rushing. There's no place anyone has to be at this exact minute. The day's still wide open, and that's the luxury you won't recognize until it's gone. You push the screen door and it whines on its spring, then snaps shut behind you with that wooden bang. Out on the grass, the dew's still down. Cold on bare feet, almost a jolt after the warm house. The sun's just starting to burn it off, lifting it in a faint haze, and for a few minutes the whole world smells green and wet and clean before the heat rolls in and rewrites the smell of the day. This is the part nobody photographed on purpose, the quiet start, but it's there in the footage if you know where to look. The bottles, the screen door, the steam off a coffee cup on a windowsill. Half the history is right there, in the things too small to film and too true to fake. Mid-morning, the street belongs to the children. Here's the rule, and damn near every kid alive in 1955 knew it cold. You go outside, and you stay outside. Until dinner. The door opens, the children spill out, and the house exhales without them. Nobody schedules it. Nobody plans a single minute. No grown-up sits in a folding chair with a clipboard. You're handed the whole morning and the whole afternoon and told to come home when you're hungry. The day is yours to fill, and you fill it without thinking, the way you breathe. So the street wakes up. A garden hose hisses across a flower bed where some father's fighting to keep one thing green in July. A sprinkler ticks back and forth somewhere, flinging an arc over the grass, and the kids tear through it shrieking, soaked to the bone, then loop around and tear through it again, and again, until somebody's mother swears they'll catch their death at 90 degrees. The water catches the light and shatters. The lawn goes dark where it lands. Bikes everywhere. Heavy steel jobs with fat tires and big chrome fenders. One coat of red or blue. A playing card clothespin to the spokes so it snaps when the wheel turns, and you can pretend it's an engine. Pretend you're somebody going somewhere. No helmets, no pads, no worry, from a single person. You ride to the end of the block, And that corner is the rim of your entire known world. Past it lies the unknown. You'll get there in your own time. The sidewalk's heating up now. Hot enough you feel it through your sneakers. Hot enough the grown-ups joke about frying an egg on it. Though no one ever actually does. You learn which side of the street keeps the shade come afternoon. You learn which yards you can cut through and which ones get you yelled at. This is the geography of being a kid. And you know it better than any map you'll ever own. And the water. If there's a public pool, that's where they all are. The smell of chlorine and wet concrete. The racket bouncing off the walls. A lifeguard perched on a white stand squinting into the sun with a whistle on a string. If there's a lake, you walk to it. Towel slung over a shoulder, a nickel saved for the trip home. And you stay in till your fingers go wrinkled and white, and your mother's voice is the only force on earth that can drag you out. This is freedom, though no child would call it that. They don't have the word yet. They just call it summer. Look hard at the home movies from these years, and you'll catch it. The water, the bikes, the wet grass, the squint into the light, the wave at whoever's behind the camera, kids with nowhere to be and the whole long afternoon to get there. By afternoon, the heat sits heavy, and you go where it's cool. Inside the drugstore, there's a soda fountain, a long counter, chrome stools that spin, and you spin them, every kid does. A marble or stainless top wiped down between customers. A boy behind it in a white paper cap and an apron, working the spigots and syrup pumps and the malt machine that whirs and rattles like it's alive. You climb up on a stool. In your pocket, a nickel, maybe a dime. That's plenty. That's the whole price of the afternoon. A cherry Coke for a few cents, a regular Coke pulled from the fountain with a squirt of cherry worked in, fizzing right up to the lip. Or you splurge a little and get a malt, thick, cold, in a tall fluted glass with the dented metal mixing cup parked beside it, because there was always more than the glass could hold, and they handed you both. You drag it up the paper straw till it makes that hollow rattle at the bottom. Then you tip the metal cup and finish what's left, and you stretch it out as long as you possibly can. It's the kind of small luxury a kid can swing on his own. Money earned mowing a lawn, shoveling a walk in winter, running an errand for a neighbor, spent on something cold on a hot day. Nobody's selling you anything bigger than that. Nobody's even trying. Out in the empty lot, the older kids are at it. Sandlot baseball. No grandstand, no uniforms, no scoreboard, no umpire. The bases are whatever lies flat, a glove, a flattened cap, a bald patch of dirt that's been a base all summer. The strike zone is whatever they all agree on, and they don't agree, and they argue it, loud, kicking up dust, and then they keep playing because the game beats the call. You learn to umpire your own game out there. You learn to settle a thing among yourselves without a grown-up ever wandering over to fix it. You carry that one the rest of your life. The heat bears down. By 3 or 4, it's the thick part of the day, the part with no edges. Inside, the electric fans run, that low, oscillating hum, the metal head turning slow, lifting the corner of a tablecloth each pass, ruffling the edge of the newspaper. The curtains barely twitch. Somebody mixes lemonade in a glass pitcher, and the ice cracks and pops when it hits the cold. People sit. They slow way down. No air conditioning in most homes yet. No switch on the wall, so you don't fight the heat. You can't. You outwait it. You find the shade on the north side of the porch. A cold drink. A still chair. And you let the worst of the day pass over you like weather. Which is exactly what it is. There's a lesson hiding in that, if you want one. They had no button to make the discomfort vanish, so they adapted. Found the cool side of the porch, drank something cold, fanned themselves, waited, and evening always came. It always came. Not every heavy thing has to be beaten. Some of it just has to be outlasted. Then the light turns. The sun drops lower and the heat finally lets go, loosening its grip an hour at a stretch. The shadows of the houses stretch long and blue across the lawns you ran on this morning. A breeze, at last. And it carries cut grass and somebody's pork chops and the dinner from a dozen kitchens at once, all up and down the block. The front porch fills. This is the gathering place at the end of the day. Maybe a swing, chains creaking on a slow beat. Maybe just kitchen chairs hauled out onto the boards, and a glass of something cold sweating in a hand, and the grown-ups talking low while the day cools around them. Somebody waves at a neighbor passing. The neighbor stops at the foot of the steps. They talk over the railing about the heat, about the price of things, about whose boy is headed where, about nothing much, and that's the entire point. That's the day winding down the way days are supposed to. The children are still out, but slower now, drifting. The long afternoon spent right out of them. And the fireflies are starting. You catch them. You've done it 100 summers and figure you've got 100 more coming. A clean glass jar, holes punched in the tin lid, and you run barefoot through the dimming yard chasing those small green sparks, cupping your hands soft so you don't crush them, watching the glow blink slow between your fingers. For a little while, there's a jar of cold light on the porch rail beside you. You'll let them go before bed. You always do. That was the unspoken deal. The streetlights flicker on. They come up slow, that orange filament warming to white, one and then the next, on down the block, stitching the whole street into pools of light. That's the real signal. Not a clock, not a whistle. When the streetlights come on, the day's ending, and every kid feels it in his bones. And then the calling starts. A mother on a porch, her voice cutting clean down the street in the still air, calling a name. Then another, from another house. Then one more, further down. Children's names floating across the yards in the blue dark, each one a small summons home. Each one meant for a particular kid who can pick his own mother's voice out of every other voice on earth. You hear yours and you groan and you take one more lap of the yard just to argue the day was longer. And then you go. The screens slam, one after another, up and down the block. The same sound that opened the morning closes the day. Lights bloom in the windows. Kitchen first, then a hallway, then a bedroom upstairs. From the street, you can see the warm, yellow squares, families inside, finishing the day the way they'd finished 1,000 others, and figured to finish 1,000 more. And then it's quiet. The street that roared at noon, the sprinklers, the bikes, the hollering, the crack of a bat on the lot, is empty now and still. Just the streetlights humming faint. A dog somewhere 2 yards over. The last car of the evening rounding a far corner. The day folds itself up and puts itself away, neat, like a tablecloth. Here's what sticks with me about a day like this. Nobody knew they were living through anything worth saving. It was just Tuesday. Just summer. The milkman came because the milkman always came. The kids went out because that's what kids did, every day, with no one deciding it. Nobody filmed it thinking, this matters, keep this, my grandchildren will want to see it. The footage that survives almost by accident. A father trying out his new 8mm camera in the backyard. A small-town newsreel. An industrial film meant to teach something else entirely that happened to catch real life drifting by in the background, out of focus, off to the side. That's where the history really lives, not in the big headlines from that year. In the small, repeated, unremarkable stuff nobody bothered to write down because they figured it would last forever. The bottles on the step, the screen door on its spring, the names called across the dark, the ordinary day no one thought to keep, because who keeps a Tuesday? You're living one of those days right now. You won't know which one it was until it's long behind you. So take the lesson the way they took the heat. Don't hurry the quiet morning. Don't cram every empty hour full of something. Let some afternoons just run long and slow and pointless, with nothing to show for them but the light crawling across the floor. Sit on the porch a while, watch the shadows stretch. The ordinary day is the one you'll ache for. And you'll ache for it most because it was ordinary. I'd really love to hear from you on this one. What did summer sound like where you grew up? Was it a screen door, a sprinkler ticking, an ice cream truck 3 streets over, a train far off in the night, your mother's voice calling you in when the streetlights buzzed on? Tell me what your evenings sounded like, and what cold thing you spent your nickel on, and what the rule was at your house about going outside and when you had to be home. If you lived through this stretch of years, or your folks did, and you grew up on their stories. Drop your memories in the comments. That's where half the history lives, in the things only you remember. And subscribe, flip on notifications for a new film every week. We'll keep hunting the small things, the ones nobody thought to save. The fireflies are out. The streetlights are humming. Somewhere, a screen door is about to slam one last time for the night. Good night, 1955.